I've never really liked videos about what makes a good character because I felt like there were too many different variables and subjectivity to come away with a clear answer. But after mulling over wildly different types of characters and seeing correlations, I think I've made something that comes as close to objective. Here's a Umeskian approach on writing characters. There are 5 things that make a good character: personality, backstory, purpose, character arc, and actions. These apply to any character, whether they are a protagonist, antagonist, or supporting character. I'll start by explaining each element, then I'll go into more detail about them. The first element is personality. If a character has an enjoyable or attractive personality, their chances of being a good character rises dramatically. What I consider a good personality is very subjective, but I have specific boxes that can be checked. The first is what I call a distinct surface trait. This is the trait that you get upon first impression and seemingly makes up most of their character. As the story progresses, more sides of them can be shown, but in my experience, having an easily identifiable surface trait makes a character easier to like. Naruto and Luffy are loud and larger than life on the surface. Jotaro is a stoic and disrespectful badass. Light is an intelligent egoist. When characters don't have a distinct surface trait, they make a bad first impression and usually end up being forgettable in my experience. Meanwhile, a distinct trait makes the character stand out from the rest of the crowd and lets me know what they're about. Enjoyability is really subjective, but I'd rather have a character who is distinct than one that bleeds into the crowd. I'll go into more detail on the results on having one and not having one in a later video. The second box is that a character needs to have flaws. If a character is perfect, I, and maybe others, feel like the character is some kind of self-insert or I'm just annoyed by their perfection. It's important to note that a personality that would be likable in real life is not necessarily one that would make an enjoyable character. This goes for traits and flaws. Being a good person isn't the same as being a good character. Just compare Light and Mirai from Death Note and Platinum End. I think personality is one of the most important traits because there are characters that I love that are basically carried by their personality. My first example is L from Death Note, who is a quirky and obsessed detective. We know very little about his backstory. We know his goal, but it's nothing too inspiring. He has no character arc, but he does have a lot of great actions in the plot. But I know his personality is more important because Nier exists. Nier played almost the exact same role as L, and even accomplished more, yet I love L and hate Nier because Nier's personality isn't enjoyable. My second example is Kakashi in part 1 of Naruto, who was a lazy and reserved mentor. In part 1, we get a short sentence hinting at his backstory. He had no unique purpose and definitely no goal. He had no character arc, and he had very few actions in the plot. He was only a major player in the first arc. That's why I say that he was carried by his personality. Both of these characters are fan favorites in the fandoms as well, which might show that I'm not alone. Backstory is the second element. A good backstory should explain why the character has their current personality, values, goals, etc. This understanding of the character displays good writing and can potentially make me respect a character that I didn't before, or further my love for one. Backstories can also create relatability between the audience. If a character's backstory is similar to mine, I might enjoy them more. If a character's backstory is tragic, it might increase my investment in their story. A character that I feel was partially carried by his backstory is Eren pre-Marley arc. I was invested in his character because he watched his mom get eaten by a titan and then developed the goal of killing all titans. I didn't care for his personality, and he had a little character arc in the Uprising arc, but that was more of a negative arc, which I also didn't care for. His actions in the plot were okay, but I wanted to know how he would achieve this goal, and it was part of what kept me reading. The third element is purpose or goal. A goal is something that you achieve once, while a purpose is something that you keep striving for the rest of your life. Characters with purposes would be Ichigo and Yusuke. Both of these usually force the character to be proactive and usually promise that the story is headed in a clear direction. Either is fine, but goals create more of a connection. When a battle manga protagonist says that he wants to be the greatest X, I get invested in their journey and I want to see how they eventually reach their goal. If Lelouch says he wants to change the world, I want to see how he'll change the world. Early Eren was half carried by his goal. In an apocalyptic world, I wanted to know how he would kill all the titans, and because of his good backstory, I was really invested in this goal. The fourth element is a character arc. A good character arc will reflect one of the themes of the story, and will have a trait A, event or events B, and a trait B. A character arc obviously shows growth, and seeing a character mature displays complex writing, especially when they move from one trait to the opposite. Making the events believable enough to create the desired change shows some mastery of writing. Eren and white-haired Kaneki are great examples of good character arcs. Both of them gained significant improvements in their personalities when they switched to trait B. Both, especially Eren, had personalities and actions that commanded attention and contained such powerful presences. The last is actions or achievements in the plot. I think this is the second most important element. These can be cool, impressive, respectful, or emotional actions, or epic achievements. In this case, the quality is more important than the quantity. Iruka and Lee are great examples from Naruto. The quality of Iruka's character is carried by what he did in Chapter 1. It was so impactful that he still ranked high in popularity polls after doing barely anything. Popularity doesn't equal quality, but it does show that what I'm saying isn't completely unique to me. Lee is very similar. He had that one epic battle with Gaara. He had a good personality and backstory too, but he barely appears after that. Yet he's still well loved by fans, including me. A character like L does several cool, smart, and impressive things, which is part of the reason I love his character, after his personality of course. Like the first element, the actions don't have to be ethical. Light and Lelouch are perfect examples, but actions and achievements are under personality for a reason. Characters like Mikasa, Minato, or Hashirama have a lot of impressive achievements and actions, but I despise all of them because of their personalities, whether it be flawlessness or being boring. The more of these elements a character has, the more likely they are to be a better written character in my eyes. Examples of all-rounders or close to being all-rounders are Sasuke, Kaneki, Kenpachi, Zoro, and Deidara. I mentioned Deidara because even though he's a minor antagonist, upon reflection, I really enjoyed the majority of his screen time. He had all the elements except for a character arc. His personality demanded attention, his goal/purpose was unique, his backstory was fleshed out, and he had great actions and achievements in the story. I said personality was the most important because it's the only one that can't be sacrificed. Hiei from Yu Yu Hakusho had no backstory before the last arc and still doesn't have a notable purpose, but his character is amazing, mostly because of his personality and actions. Spike Spiegel from Bebop has a weak purpose and has no goal or character arc. Josuke has no character arc, but these characters are still extremely enjoyable. It's nearly impossible for a good character to have a bad personality or no notable actions in the plot. If a character checks off all other boxes, but has a blank slate for a personality, I can't consider them a good character. In fact, it'd be incredibly hard for me to even like them to begin with, and it's very unlikely that a writer would give a character a good personality, backstory, purpose or goal, and a character arc without having them do anything noteworthy or memorable in the plot. Furthermore, villains like Dio, Aizen, and Madara could be stripped of the other three elements and still be such attention-grabbing characters purely based on their strong, gripping personalities and impressive actions. Finally, the more elements, the more likely the character is going to be better. I'll compare Yusuke and Josuke for example. I think that both are equal in terms of personality and actions, but Yusuke has a better background, has a purpose, and an arc, so the victory goes to him. In conclusion, what makes a good character in a Yumeiskian approach is a combination of personality, background, goal, character arc, and actions. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and check out my manga for free online. If you enjoy my content, please consider donating to my Patreon. All important links will be in the description.